So I'm the CEO of Plant-Ditech, and I will share with you what we do. So if you can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So a little bit of background and the challenge that we face and the challenge that we address. So the climate is changing. There is a lot of variability. The environment is impacting the quality of soil and water and the amount of resources. And all of this is expected also to impact towards 2030 in the reduction in yield and also increasing prices. So far, only about 7% of the seeds or plant products are actually environmental stress resistant. And you may ask yourself why, because you see that such a big impact, but on the other hand, so little came actually into the market in terms of a number of products. So I will try to answer that. So it's a very complex answer, but I will try to simplify it. So please to the next slide. So the answer is actually the complexity of the environment and the impact on the plant. The environment is changing and the plant is responding. And the environment is changing momentarily. So everything about the environment, if we talk about the sun position or the humidity or the water availability, etc., is changing every minute. And the plant is actually changing its strategies based on the environment. So it's actually changing behavior and respond based on the input that you get from the environment. So it's a very complex diagram and complex in real life, complex response from the plant. Not only that, the shoot and the root are responding differently. So in order to better understand that, we need actually to monitor the plants and also the environment on the same time simultaneously and also continuously. Please, if you can move to the next slide. So we need really to map it all through the day. If we look at the environmental, breeding for environmental stresses, this is usually a long process, very long process. It takes up to 20 or 25 years even. One of the fields that is very critical to the development of the solution in this area is the crop physiology. And the crop physiology today is being measured mainly manually, plant by plant, and it's very ineffective in the way it's being measured. Next slide, please. And what we offer a solution that actually deals with the phenotyping for the physiology phenotyping of the plants. So what Plant-Ditech is offering is a phenotyping platform for physiological profile of the plants in response to the environment. It's important, as I said, to measure the plants also simultaneously and continuously all day long. So this is what we do with this platform. We actually profile the physiological response of the plant, but all along the day. And also to all the plants, we measure all the plants on the same time. If you can please move to the next slide. So this is how it looks. This is the platform. We actually apply different soil and water conditions automatically by the system. So it's kind of a simulation system where you apply different conditions and measure the impact on the plant, if you can click another click, and get the physiological status of the plant. So you can actually get a physiological profile for one plant, but also compared to all the other plants that are being measured simultaneously on the same time. Another click, please. What this helps us to do is actually to shorten the R&D processes, the research processes, and increase the selection quality towards the next phases of the breeding. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this slide actually shows you how we do it. So on the left hand, you can see the system where we actually can apply different soil and water applications for each of the plants. It could be different nutrient levels, different salinity levels, different water levels. And on the same time, we measure all the parameters you see on the right-hand side which are physiological parameters, and also environmental parameters, environmental sensing. So we sense the plant together with the environment with many different parameters to try and profile as many of the environmental status and the plant response. We do it simultaneously to all the plants, and we do it continuously all day long. So we take about almost 500 measurements a day to all the plants at once. So imagine the amount of data that we gather. All this amount of data is going out up to the cloud. Next slide, please. And if you can activate the video. So the same, another click. So at the same time the experiment is running, the measurements are being taken. Next slide, please. Just next slide. It's okay. And we take also, we analyze the data in real time. So at the time of the experiment, the data is already being analyzed statistically. If you can have another click. And even up to a single point, we can see if it is statistical or not. The whole aim of this is actually to help the researcher to cut the time to the minimum. Next slide, please. So what we do, instead of waiting a whole season or even more than one season in different cases, we actually shorten the time for only 1 month. So actually within one season, you can run many tests, more than one, and already come to the next season with a better understanding of what you need to, with which products you can continue the development. Next slide, please. So what we do that for different type of plants, from small plants through vegetables, through cereal crops, through even trees, up to trees. We do it for different growth stages. Next slide, please. These applications are, we address with the system. So it's to handle abiotic stress studies, nutrients effect, shorter the breeding cycle, physiological studies, root phenotyping in terms of root diseases, early detection of root diseases or nematodes impact, and optimization, for example, in the cannabis, optimize the protocol for different environmental conditions to get better yields. Next slide, please. So we are, about us a little bit, we are commercial since 2017. Another click. We are, the system was developed at the Hebrew University by 2 professors, one expert in plant physiology, the other in soil and water. Already more than 20 academic articles were written using the system. We have the system installed already in Europe, North America, China, and Israel. And also we have some of distinguished customers among our customers, Wageningen University, big companies like ICL, Haifa Chemicals, and also large food companies. At the bottom, you see 2 of our customers that actually became research facilities that are providing services to other customers. Next slide, please. Next slide, thanks. So very little example just to show you a little bit. We have, this is just an example of different genotypes that are mapped in different physiological parameters. Next slide, please. And here, just click if you can, on several clicks, you can see measurements, continuous measurement of the environment and the plant on the same time, the plant growth, biomass growth, and also productivity. Another click, please. And in this example, you can see that we can even identify the what we call the golden time, the most productive time of the day for the plants. Next slide, please. And we can do that also under stresses. So another click will show you that even in very low soil water content in stress, we can still identify in very high resolution the plant performance. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the future and the big data into the future. 2 interesting areas for us. One is the the combination of morphology and physiology onto plant growth, things that we can learn from the amount of data that we gather, and also can apply to learn from the field back to the lab. Next slide, please. And another thing is optimization for plant growth. So what things we can learn from, again, the big data which is gathered in order to learn more about the effectiveness on the impact on plant growth. So I thank you for your attention and looking forward for a Q&A.
Great, so that was really great. So we did get some questions come in. So speaker, you guys can unmute yourselves briefly. I'll remind everybody what's about to happen now is we're going to do just a brief Q&A, and then we're going to break into our networking groups. And the speakers will be distributed into those networking groups, and you can talk to them as well. So if your question doesn't get answered in the Q&A, not to worry, you'll probably have the chance to talk to them directly as well. So thank you for that. So, first question is for Gil at Equinome. So Gil, you are dealing large scale operations there, and you're talking about integrating genotyping and phenotyping data. So as a biologist, this actually caught my attention as well. And I wonder what Equinome about all of this automation, because a lot of the other talks that we've been hearing lately in AgTech is about the automated detection of phenotype data, and if this is something Equinome is thinking about, how it might be able to utilize this kind of technology or integrate it with its own platform.
Okay, first, obviously, yes, because right now, and let's agree about it, the phenotyping cost is becoming more expensive than the genotyping cost. Yes. Now the question is where I can run my phenotyping activities and if does it make sense. So 2 examples. If I can do any kind of phenotyping activity on the seeds, obviously I will try to convert it as fast as I can to high throughput methodologies, machineries, imaging analysis. So we have those machineries within the companies, and we are buying more and more machineries to make sure that we will have the ability to phenotype quickly, fast and cheap, those kind of seeds and their qualities, because obviously running HPLC and GCMS is nice, but it's not relevant for us. Now, in regard to the plant phenotype, over here, I think there are more challenges than people can imagine, because I'm here to sell seeds to my farmers. My farmers are located in the entire globes, in Australia, in South Africa, in Argentina, in Texas, in Oklahoma. So where do I put my machinery? I will put my machinery in every state, in every country, in where I'm going to run the phenotyping. Obviously, it's more challenging, and I'm just reminding you, open field, you have hurricanes, you have flood, you have any kind of problems that running very expensive machineries that will generate amazing data, but it's will not give you any kind of practical assessment. That's the challenge. So I think as a seed company, it's basically a compromising between cost and effectiveness, because at the end of the day, we phenotype all of our plants in the production site. We don't do it in laboratories, because laboratories for us will not bring us the data that we require. So it's, it's evolving story. The more the machinery will become cheaper, the more we will invest, but we need to have it on place.
Great, thank you. Really, that's for those of you listening, just like what Gil said, the cost of phenotyping is actually definitely outpacing the cost of genotyping these days. The technology with genotyping has become so good, and the cost has gotten to be so low that any technology that can take advantage of that is going to take a lead in the market. So for those engineers there, be thinking about what you could do with the phenotyping, because getting those costs down could be a really big game changer in this market. So next up, Keren. So Keren actually deals with phenotyping and how to capture real-time data. And We did get some questions coming in here. I'm not sure if I'm going to say your name correctly. Prakash actually connected from India today to hear this talk, to hear what we're going on over here, and had a question about if your system was actually controlling and tracking the chemical concentrations as well as monitoring the output.
So I will answer that, but I will also refer to something from Gil, if you allow me to. So just to say, yes, the phenotyping is a challenge, and we're trying to address this challenge. What you can do in a lab, or not in a lab, in a greenhouse or in a growth room where you can change the environmental conditions, you can actually simulate different conditions from different places in the world. So you don't have to put the phenotyping somewhere else, but you have it in your backyard, and you can change the conditions and do it similar to what it is. We've shown that there is high correlation to field results. So in our case, also in terms of cost, our system is modular. So I'm just saying in general, for everyone's knowledge, it's not like bringing up, and I know in phenotyping, usually it's bringing up big infrastructure that costs a lot of money, robotics. It's not our case. Our system is actually standing, not moving, no robotics, and no major infrastructures. And it's also modular, so you can start small and then grow over time if you want to. So this is just a comment to give. Coming back to your question, Yael, to the question raised. So what we can do, we are measuring the plant response, but what we can do is apply different chemical concentrations automatically, so by the system. So you can actually mix very different kind of chemical concentrations, and the system actually mixes it for you, and then we can measure the plant response. We don't have a sensor just yet. By the way, if somebody here in the audience have an idea how to do it, to sense, for example, NPK or any other chemical in the soil. This is very challenging topic. So we don't have it yet. If somebody is developing this functionality, I'll be happy to talk to him or her.
Great, great. Okay, engineers, you have a task.